Hello everybody and welcome to this new video of digital painting with Krita. I was invited to attend the Fosdem event. And what is Fosdem? Fosdem is the greatest event of free and open source software. The software that you have in your mobile, in your tablet, on your PC comes from the programmers, from the coders. So we have to be grateful to their work. And Fosdem is this event where all the programmers meet them together and they talk in real life. So thanks to Fosdem organizers and the people and attendees speaking with me virtually. It was a pleasure, and thanks to KDE for support Krita. And if you go to the Fosdem's YouTube channel, it's incredible. It's a madness of knowledge. So you can learn a lot there if you like programming or complex mathematics or stuff like that. I was invited to make a demo of Krita, just like painting something and showing the attendees the power of Krita. This is the painting that I did for the Fosdem. So enjoy it. Okay, so I published this, and this is the official Rgba pack that I created for Krita, and I'm gonna use a combination of both. Okay, so you don't need to have 1,000 brushes to create something. Let's go for the demo. Okay, so here we go. In the Rgba brushes, we have this brush. And it's really interesting because it paints, but also it's not only using the transparency to create the opacity in the brushstroke, but it uses a different mode. Okay, so you can see a bit of bump effect. So let's make a fast sky, but a bit textured. And maybe we can combine with this, which is pretty similar. As you can see, it's quite fast. And it's really special because it's not a usual behavior to have something like this. So Krita is going farther than the usual behaviors in other applications. In fact, there are big companies that are copying some features like the eraser mode or others. Okay, and I'm gonna be painting, and this is the basic sky. Easy, right? It's not so complicated to paint in a sky. I don't know what is this going to be, but what I'm trying to do here is to fill my canvas with color and texturized brush strokes. Okay, so I can use this. Maybe if I'm gonna paint, and about color, I'm using the regular palette. It's the default palette, so nothing fancy, nothing tricky. It's only something like this. Maybe I'm gonna paint some different grass here. Maybe brighter. I love the orange, yellow opposite to the blue and purple and the combinations. So are you painting? And anybody here is painting already with these brushes? Maybe you are playing with this brush to create some kind of chip impasto, because if you carefully look at this, you can have this chip impasto effect. But imagine that you want to create more contrast between the lightest part and the darkest part. Okay, we can do it really easy if we use the feature contrast here. and I increase the contrast, and boom, I get this kind of effect. I love it, but sometimes it's a bit too aggressive, maybe with soft brush strokes. And you can see if I select an orange color, due to the contrast, I get darker parts here that maybe is not what I'm looking for, okay? So if you don't want to mess too much your painting, you can use the settings that has available. And as I was saying about the dynamics, if you don't want the variation, you can deactivate the hue and value, and you have a solid color here. Oh, Wolthera's writing, great. Thanks, Wolthera. It's an honor to have you here. Based on the Impressionism idea, they think a lot about how light affect the colors. So we can go from the light part and darken this part with black. Okay, so we're gonna use blue, maybe blue or maybe purple, because if we are in a sunny day, the complementary color is like blue or purples. So I can create something faster. If anybody here is asking why I'm painting the tree in dark colors, is because when I put the bright parts, it's going to achieve a really interesting result, right? So let's see, for example, I'm going to fill these gaps. Impressionists were painting with the idea that they were opposite to the academic style in the studio, so they were more interested in light behaviors and things like that. And remember, the photography was invented around this era, so they were asking themselves why we are painting, or how we can compete with this new medium. And if you analyze the Impressionism style, you can see that it's not completely painted. There are some parts where you can see the canvas, and other parts that you can see the brush stroke. Okay, and this brush is really interesting because if you use it over already painted surface, it can create like a scratching effect. It's like a scratching the surface. Maybe if you have, let's see, a blue color and you make something like this, you are like scratching the painting. And I love that because it breaks a bit the differences on the brushstroke movement. Because if you are watching how I was painting with this brush, you notice that I paint like this. Okay, it's not the same that painting like this, because this is more you can see the direction of the brushstroke. Bob Ross. maybe I need a big palette then. And the afro hair. Okay, then I have to speak really low. I was really amazed when I discovered that he was a military guy. Okay, I have talked about this brush, and now is the time for the touching of some parts. Okay, maybe I want to emphasize or giving importance to some areas here and there. have some slow background. I don't know if I can put music and don't infringe the copyright. Okay, as you can see, this, if I paint like this, is like little impacts, okay? Little details that you can use, and it's more like happy accidents. And this is a sentence from Bob Ross tutorials. But the happy accidents is something that we use really often when we are painting, right? So we love the happy accidents.
Yes.
And you can change the size, or maybe you want to play a bit with the tilt if you have this feature, so you can go to the size and use the tilt elevation if you want to create different effects. And a very powerful thing is that you can use also this to create with the brush tip in the masked brush. I'm using this triangle because angular spikes gives me a really powerful hi Raghavendra gives me a really powerful shapes, okay, like this, like these corners. But if I change, for example, to another brush, I get a totally different effect, okay? And you keep the cheap impasto effect, but it's more like, I think this is really a personal touch. So we don't want to imitate anybody, and this is a tendency that the social media makes a lot. But we have to think about what we want to, or what I want to achieve, and what is my style, and what makes me happy when I am painting. Okay, so maybe this is getting too much impasto, and I'm going to make just a bit of something like this. No, it's too dark. And I'm going to go to the warm parts here to play a bit with this. And one interesting thing is that these have a very accurate possibilities in painting, okay? I'm painting a triangle, but the behavior inside the brushstroke is really chaotic. If I want to paint really fast, I'm computing a lot of things. So how can I help Krita to go faster if I need it? Well, I can go here and I can disable the masked brush, and then it has to compute only one brush tip. And if it's for a wider size, it's a bigger size for this, you can see the difference. Okay, let me check what people is saying in the. I'm going to be painting more like this. And what happens if I want to get, for example, like a blending of all these brush strokes here, because I realized that this is too much. Well, I did this in the new Impressionism pack, and is using this brush tip, so the Rgba animated 01, which gives you the idea that you can play with this. With a soft touch, I can blend, but at the same time, I'm keeping my cheap impasto feeling if I do it carefully. Do you have any questions? in the chat. It's not the same, but very pretty similar, because I want to give continuity and overlapping effect in the tree. Okay. What do you think until now? It's really weird to be talking alone. I'm gonna drink some water. And you can blend also painting, because when you have a color like this and I put the middle color, you are in fact blending. Normally I don't use too much layers to create my painting. Only if I'm working for a specific production, or I'm painting for a customer that has that maybe can change something in future, then I make the work more editable later. Remember, the straight lines in nature are not really present. I'm gonna start to detail a bit these parts, giving some personality to the tree. And so I'm selecting lighter colors. 890.
You have lots of time, so don't worry.
Sorry?
You have a lot of time, so don't worry.
Okay. Okay, as you can see, in the moment I put a lighter value here, I get this, you can see in a different way. It's like the sun is coming through the branches. I hope, at least, you have the feeling. And as you can see here, there is another blender, which is the same brush tip, but it also blends. I like this point, so I careful try to not destroy. I think it's fine. And what if you want to, because if you can see here, this is destroying the texture. Okay, you can see the canvas texture because I'm in a layer that is have a clone pattern to preserve the texture. If I go here to the paint to overlaying, but I have to activate the overlay mode. Nope. Because it's in overlay mode. Okay. Overlay mode, normal. I paint here too, and you can see I'm destroying the texture. So what I can do is just to go here and activate the pattern and select the same pattern as for the canvas, and you have blending but respecting the texture. Okay. Or do you have doubts about sketching, another technique? Yeah, and as usual, I mirror the image to see if everything works as I want. Okay, there is too much graphic mass here. I need to, yeah, I'm gonna paint something around here. Okay, I'm gonna refine some parts. And as you can see, this is using the blending feature, but with low pressure we can create this very opaque parts of the image, and then we can blend whatever we need, right? Okay, it's like a lonely tree in a forest that has support a lot of storms. Maybe I'm going to play a bit with this, adding some lights here and there to create volume on the tree. And now is when I have to fight with myself to not finish this too much, because I am a lover of detail and perfection, and I'm trying to simplify my style a lot. If you follow my Twitter or my post in social media, you can see that I'm trying to achieve a less realistic style. I'm not interested in realism right now. Okay, I need some light here, so I select this color, press N, and modify a bit the hue, and I have already the value that I want.
We can hear you. Person who's asking, can you hear me, Ramon?
Sorry, can you hear me? Sorry, I have increased my volume. Can you repeat the question, please?
Nope, how you added the more brushes on left in the label impression.
Ah, okay. These brushes, the Rgba brushes.
Exactly.
These are added here because I use the assign to the tag and then
okay, thank you.
Go
Thank you
for
very much.
for
I
the.
was wondering. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks you. I reduce the volume now. Okay. The last thing I was doing was painting this part with a more rusty effect and very soft touch. It's like adding here, if I add a bit of light, if I press really soft, I get this canvas. It's only if I press harder, I get the full color. Okay, but this is to thanks Rgba. Rgba is, by the way, the responsible of the Krita artist community. He's doing a super great job on this. So thanks, Rag. I need to balance the attention in the picture. And here where I live, there's a place where I go to be relaxed and get more energy. And it's full of little flowers, little yellow flowers. I love it. And maybe to make flowers, I will use the masked brush, because it allows me to create a very unpredictable shapes. Because if you make something like this, you can see there's different shapes along the brush stroke. And this is something that you can apply in different brushes, different brush strokes. Oh, and I sing a lot when I'm painting, so I can do it unconsciously. I have two ideas on my mind. With more time, I can explore both them, but and use this effect to create like grass in the foreground or around here to make not so glow effect in this part. And I use the same tone to create here with highlights, but as you can see, this is nothing compared to this. If I go here, this is lighter. If I create with here, it's too much. Okay, then I have to make some holes. And I doubting if I use this, creating different heights. Let's mirror a bit the image. If nothing is falling, bit blue inside the purple, it helps a lot. And this is something I think Marco Bucci is one of the great artists that use a lot colorful compositions. And recently I see that he is using a Krita. He's one of the greatest in mastering the color. The chat is too quiet. I don't see too much comments. Let's see a bit. May not be a bad idea to control. Yeah, absolutely, Bloom. Okay, I'm gonna shave. I'm not too much worried because Krita has the autosave feature. So if I go to the configure Krita in miscellaneous section, I can have let me check if this here, no, in 500, sorry, it was the enable autosaving, and I have the interval every 10 minutes around, so you can change whatever you want, but I'm gonna save it as 3 Fosdem in my desktop. Okay. What does the large color picker hotkey? Large color picker. This one? No, this is the, if you go here to the advanced color selector, you can do a lot of things. Okay, if you select in the Shade selector, you can see that you can use the color patches, use the gradient, and I use this with a shortcut that is N key, and it's modified because by default, if you go to the settings in the keyboard shortcuts and you press minimal, you can see it by default is Shift N, and you have coloring canvas. But the good thing is that you can customize the Shade selector. Maybe you want to have 4, 5, 6, whatever, and you then select what will be interesting to have. Maybe all the hue I'm going to reduce, and then I can have all my hue here, and I change color as I want on the fly. I think Rolf is a great idea to have variety in operating systems. In fact, I use Kubuntu 20.04 in my laptop, so I think it's great to have a lot of platforms to work with. And Krita has done a great effort on this because it's developed in Linux and Windows and Macintosh and recently on Android. And that is a lot of work. There are professionals, I say professionals, but very carefully, because they don't even make the same effort. And Krita do that effort. And the software is free. So community is very blessed by all this effort. And that's the reason why I use Krita, because I think in the longer road, in the longer path, Krita will be much powerful. It's following a bit the I'm really careful saying this, but it's following some steps of Blender development. I remember all Blender's releases. It's really hard to be competitive with this kind of application ecosystems that we have already. But Krita don't want to compete. Krita want to offer a solution for the users that want to paint. And as we are in the Fosdem, we are surrounded by good programmers. So I invite you, everybody here, to take a look at Krita code, or maybe in Python, or maybe in a more deeper languages, and analyze if you are bored about your project in your real project, then you can help in Krita to be relaxed. When you realize that you are overpainting, you have to stop. And then lighter touch here. To be in opposites. I don't want to fill everything with flowers, but a bit of them here and there. Just maybe some of them here, maybe red flowers. What about red flowers? I'm reading a bit the chat. Are you enjoying the painting session? Maybe some red flowers, or maybe it's too much. Oh no, purple flowers. Yeah, purple. Yeah, I mean, beautiful purple flowers. It's a bit softer. So I'm gonna use a technique that is like glazing. With this, I'm painting, but not completely opaque to get the impasto, but very soft, light touches. I don't know if this is Impressionism. Finally, I ended creating more details. I had to review that part. And this is too sharpened compared to this. Let's go to finish this. And of course you can combine the brushes and techniques, because maybe you have to detail some parts and you want a pencil, or you want whatever you want. Or I can blend, for example, from digital Atelier, which is a pack that is available in the Krita Shop and helps the Krita development. And you can have this kind of blender, which I love. And you can create this kind of blending with pastel effects, or creating more effects, but adding some grain. I could be talking about this long time. But if I go to the impression again, I'm going to finish this, just adding some lights. I'm adding this to give more chromacity to the painting, but I'm gonna leave this untouched. It's like no finish look that Impressionism or Impressionist were used to give to their paintings. I don't know what people is talking about, but if there is something important, Paul, can you just notify me?
There's somebody who's asking if you use a mouse to paint or if you're using a pen.
A mouse.
Oh wow! Okay. Why?
I remember my old times using a mouse. Believe me, it was in the 90s, using Deluxe Paint, where I started my painting adventure. I was in the demo scene a long time ago, and painting with the mouse is really complex because you don't have two things. Like, I think the more I paint, the more I see that they are needed for painting if you want to achieve good results in fast way. And one of them is the pressure to achieve different levels of opacity, and the other thing is the tilt feature. And the tilt feature is not available in all the devices, because the cheaper devices doesn't have tilt.
Yeah, I'm going to ask a question. So without going into, I don't want to make any advertising of any company or whatever, but is there a device that you would recommend? One of the what tablet, what pen?
I think that is a very interesting question, and I will recommend the device that you can afford. Don't invest too much if you are not sure that you are going to be rewarded in any way, or you are going to achieve some money with that investment. But there are my personal opinion is that I have used a lot of Wacom, and I have even old Wacom devices that are still working. So talking about the new brands, I will be interested in testing, but this is something that I can't purchase all the brands. But I think they are doing the very interesting work that they are making not the monopoly state of one brand possible. So giving the opportunity to other people to use another brands is great. Like Huion, for example, which is making a great job providing, because I have students that they are using the Huion and they are really happy with them, with the product.
Okay, thank you very much, Ramon. I think we can all agree that it's been absolutely wonderful tutorial and demo, and I hope that a lot of artists come out of this. Everybody who's watching must now go and make their work of art. So thank you very much, and beautiful picture. Everybody loves it. Ramon is also available on the Krita channel. He does most of the videos there, and I'm going to leave you with Alison, who's going to be presenting the next talk in a few minutes' time. Bye-bye.
Bye.